Well, it's a huge joy to introduce Emily, who's capable of doing something I've never been capable of, which is she's a marathon runner. And she's going to be running here in Dublin on the 27th of this month. So all of you who are Dubliners, you need to come out and support her on her second marathon on the 27th, a week on Monday. That's for Emily. Now, after she's done the marathon this time round, she's planning for the Arctic Marathon in 2015, which is called the Midnight Sun Marathon, which is in the north of Norway. And she'll be running that in the summer of 2015. And she's deciding at the moment what her key cause to run that is going to be. But it's worth knowing that Emily has been involved in supporting peace and peace building here in Ireland. She's an advocate for the Peace Players, and the Peace Players have trained over 65,000 people in developing and supporting peace, helping to be advocates together for building communities. And it is her great passion that sport should be a way of helping people redefine their identities and getting away from whether they're men or women or this or that and just being sports people. She quite rightly punched hard with me in the conversation before. I don't mean boxing. She wasn't kind of into that. We weren't doing that kind of bouting. But punched hard on the conversation of saying, you know, we talk about men's sports and women's sports. And then she said to me, well, name a sport that a woman can't do. And we were struggling. And we realized, actually, there's just sport. And so often we attach these labels, men's sport or women's sport, which defines and separates and segregates and therefore delineates and sometimes demeans. And her passion is that sport should be an equal driver, a builder of all people's capabilities, and an opportunity for inclusion. Please welcome Emily Glen.
Hello, One Young World delegates, and welcome to my home city. I hope you're enjoying your time here, and I hope it's helping you see why Ireland is ranked in the top 10 of the UN's World Happiness Report. But it hasn't always been like this. Until recently, ethnic violence was rife in Northern Ireland. And even today, relations between Catholics and Protestants, Unionists and Republicans, remain so uneasy that they can spill over into sporadic violence. In Dublin, far away from the Troubles, society is divided in ways which are not so obvious. As a woman in Ireland, I am part of 52% of the population, which is represented by only 16% in Parliament. Divides increase exponentially if I am a woman from a disadvantaged social background or an ethnic minority. Initiatives from our government, from the UN and the EU, are designed to bridge social divides, inspire parity between genders, and create inclusive multicultural societies. But change, however you see it, begins at grassroots, with individuals inspiring their communities to change. And sport is a perfect unifying conduit for so many social divisions. The link is simple. Sport and recreational activities provide a space for the marginalised in society to get involved. This can be the first forum in which some people are guaranteed the right to participate. These community groups are a microcosm of wider society and one in which we can make real, tangible changes that scale globally. I work with the Peace Players, an organisation in Northern Ireland that unites Catholic and Protestant communities through basketball. They begin working with children on single identity basketball teams, which over time they develop into mixed teams of children from both communities. For many of these children and their parents, it's the first opportunity that they would have had to meet their neighbours from the other communities and to break the cycle of each living in mutual suspicion of the other. To date, over 2,500 children have been positively affected in Northern Ireland, and 32 schools from the most divided parts of Northern Ireland participate in the Peace Players' cross-cultural teams. They have scaled this project globally, and it now works in divided communities in Palestine, Israel, Cyprus, South Africa. Sport has stimulated massive advances in ending educational, cultural, and ultimately political segregation. In total, the Peace Players have had 65,000 participants globally since they started, and 54% of those have been women and girls. Social divisions, especially in post-conflict societies, are often recreated in our recreational activities. And we recreate these divisions by attaching adjectives to sport. And in doing so, we reinforce the idea that some sports are the sole pursuit of exclusive groups in society. So I don't play an unfeminine sport, and maybe you can't play with people from different cultural or social backgrounds. Organisations like the Peace Players, Sports Against Racism Ireland, and the Women's Sports Journal are all part of a movement designed and inspired to progress social inclusion through sport, inspired by a belief that a change in civic society will precipitate a shift in policy. Once we notice the language we use, the adjectives we place in front of our recreational activities, we are noticing those things that separate and divide us. So, One Young World delegates, when you leave Ireland this weekend, remember that change in our global society starts with your direct involvement with your own communities. A belief in something better, coupled with a plan, needs your expression to spark progress. So lend your efforts to an idea in support of the change that you want to see, and recognise your own capacity to galvanise communities. Make small steps to make big changes. Thank you.